Nick Kyrgios has made it to the final 8 of this year's Wimbledon, continuing his run of form, this time against the American Brandon Nakashima. On that note, let's bring in Adam Peacock for his thoughts on how things went overnight. Adam, good morning to you. Thanks for your time as always from Code Sports commentator. Well, things were different this time around as opposed to the last round, weren't they? Should we put it that way? And then, well, I'll just get your thoughts on his performance overnight.
Yeah, well, Pete, with Nick, no two performances are the same. It's a bit like raising a child. No 2 days are the same, and it's the same with watching Nick Kyrgios. So I'm not calling Nick a child. I'm just saying that that's the only thing I can liken it to.
Well, I mean, there's childish behaviour sometimes, people allege.
Allegedly, exactly. There is. But, I mean, the Tsitsipas one was basically him on the edge trying to push his opponent into a mental state where he couldn't recover from, and it worked. It worked perfectly. Tsitsipas didn't know what to do, and he fizzed out after and called him evil and all those things. This morning, and pardon the bags under the eyes, because I saw every ball hit, Nakashima was not one to be worked on like that. He was just left to his own devices at the other end of the court. Nick had a bit of an issue with his shoulder. He was a bit worried. He was really within himself for the vast majority of the match. So there's a lot of internalising going on this morning, but he got through. It was pretty impressive in the end to get back to another Wimbledon quarter-final 8 years after his first.
Yeah, and so how do you rate his chances of moving into the final 4?
Very good, I would put them at. Very, very good. I'd say his favourite, heavy favourite against Cristian Garin, the Chilean who beat Alex de Minaur. Demon had 2 match points in that. He led 2 sets to love, let it slip. Garin is just a heavy hitter. He's a good mover, heavy hitter, but I don't care who you are. If you play for nearly 5 hours of high-quality tennis, you're going to be a little sore a couple of days later. So Kyrgios only had 3 hours on court. His serve can take away the contest for Garin. So if he's dialed in, Nick, and it's still an if he's dialed in, he should be too good, and he could well be playing a Wimbledon semi-final against Rafael Nadal.
And such a shame that the Demon couldn't quite get the job done too, because that would have been sensational in All-Australian quarter.
Yeah, and that would have changed the dynamic hugely for Nick as well, because they're actually mates. They get on really well. They were close a couple of years ago, really close, but they kind of do their own thing now. But they still very much respect each other. And Nick was probably deep down hoping that he'd play de Minaur, but in another respect, he's kind of glad he doesn't have to go through that, because it is difficult when you play a friend or talking. I wouldn't know. I've never played at Wimbledon, but talking to people who have and they play against a friend, it's difficult, Pete. So yeah. It would have been a different occasion for Nick, but this one he can just purely focus on himself and beating an opponent, which he's favoured to do so.
There were some interesting pieces on Nick Kyrgios and his preparation for Wimbledon today. He gets ready on the court where, you know, he plays basketball with a group of friends and people who are in his face the whole time and are actually bullying him. And that's where he says he gets this drive from, and then forces it on his opponents on the tennis court. Do you believe that there is that there is space for that these days in, you know, the gentleman's game of tennis?
Well, he doesn't fit the absolute mould, and he was in a discussion again overnight with a tabloid journalist about wearing red shoes and a red hat onto the court, which you're not meant to do. But if it's the 4th round and he's still doing it, obviously the Wimbledon organisers haven't been paying close enough attention to adhere, Nick, to that rule. But yeah, he's got a massive competitive spirit. But the thing about Nick is he can't be bothered just going onto a tennis court like some others can for 3 hours a day and just hitting balls. He gets bored after about 10 minutes with that. So he's got to find another way to harness that competitive spirit, and that's through basketball and trash talking with his mates down there in Canberra. I've actually witnessed it. It is full on. It is absolutely full on. And whether or not it's the best cardio workout for a tennis match, I don't know, but it works for Nick. And I think now that he's a little more settled off the court and he's not paying as much attention to the DMs coming his way, criticising him, I think that's probably more to do with Nick being in this position now than anything else.
Just because I've got you, Adam, I'm a United fan, and I know that you're a Newcastle fan. It looks like Cristiano Ronaldo's on his way out of United. He is seeking Champions League football, but if it were to be about a pay packet, Newcastle would surely be able to afford it. Would you like to see him on board?
I don't know. I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't say, if it didn't happen, it's the end of the world. Put it that way. But I just get the uneasy feeling that he's taking a bit of a way out here because the new coach at Manchester United is coming in and thinking, I want to do it my way. And the Champions League excuse gets bandied about left, right and centre. I want to play Champions League. Yeah, well, whatever. You don't play Champions League. Look at your pay packet. So I get a sense that he might end up at Chelsea, which might annoy you a lot.
Yeah, that's where I mean, I don't think it'll affect his legacy too much because he's a legend at United, but it'll be tainted somewhat. And it would probably affirm those opinions that people had that he was actually going to go to Manchester City.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He was, but that might have been a negotiation tactic to kind of rustle Manchester United out of their slumber. But it's a shame because we might have seen him in 2 weeks' time here in Australia for that match at the MCG. But
that's true.
Ever increasing unlikely.
That's true, actually. Adam Peacock, always good to chat to you. Thanks for your time this morning, and we'll talk to you again soon.